people and culture of Hong Kong. Despite the fact that it is happening in the darkest hours, I'm grateful to have witnessed the new era of Hong Kong. The new chapter is going to be tough, despite the fact that the movement has gained large amounts of local and international support. But the Chinese government remains in control of core societal institutions, such as the executive and the legislative branch. At the same time, hatred among Hong Kongers are getting worse. But the society is splitting into two camps. I will quote one line in the film. It is not hatred that keeps me going, but hope. I hope the audience can continue your support to the protesters in Hong Kong, fight for freedom, stand with Hong Kong. Thank you.
Q&A, and we're gonna have it in both Cantonese and English. So we're happy to be able to have the producer from 10 years to join our event tonight.
Hi. I'm Andrew. Hi.
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 So this Q&A session is live on April Daly's Buddhist channel. We are joined with viewers from around the world.
今日好高興請到製作10年嘅蔡監製出席今次嘅 Q&A 環節。今日嘅 Q&A 亦都會以 live 嘅方式喺蘋果日報果現場上直播。除咗現場嘅你哋之外，仲有世界各地嘅朋友一齊會參加今日嘅 Q&A。咁我哋而家就邀請蔡監製。
So without further ado, let's hear from one of our Q&A speakers, Andrew.
Do you want me to speak in? Do you want me to speak in Cantonese or English? Can you hear me? Hi. Hi, can you hear me? Hi. Hi, can you hear me? Can you hear me? Yes? Okay.
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay. Do you want me to speak in English or Cantonese?
English, please.
Okay. Well, first of all, thank you, New York, for having this screening. I think is meaningful because we've been here in New York in 2016 in the New York Asia Film Festival, and back then we also have some discussion. But I think this time is different because of the situation, just as the two speakers described. I think Hong Kong is facing a very difficult time. 10 years is just a movie. It's ask question. How do we face our future in 10 years? Of course, the film has shown for 3.5 years, for almost 4 years. A lot of things have changed. But even though now today you watch again, I think it's more relevant. And a lot of people say most of the things has already happened except for the second film. And I think it's very unfortunate. A few years ago, when people asked how we see the future, I remember a few years ago I said it's going to be more difficult. There's going to be more control for the government. The influence from the mainland China government will be more obvious, and you can see it's more obvious, especially over the last 3 months, what's happening in Hong Kong. But I think the film is talking about hope, of course, but the main theme about the film is we have to realize the difficulty situation we are facing, and then we talk about hope. A lot of people never imagined Hong Kong would become in this situation. A lot of young protesters being caught, being hit by police, and the government just ignore all our requests. So it is a difficult time. And 10 years is not one of the questions I always been asked. Oh, you guys are prophesizing what's going to happen in the future. No, but when we did our research and our scriptwriter wrote the script, a lot of people, a lot of our script writers actually looking back at the history to reveal some of the history of more the Communist Party or even the dictatorship, how they treat their people, and you can see it's very similar. Just last 2 nights, I've been in a sharing for a Korean film, 1987, and The Taxi Driver. It talks about how people willing to sacrifice to protect the truth back in the 1980s in Korea. And of course, that film, when you watch it today, just like 10 years, it speaks to you. I think so. To cut it short, 10 years is a film that asks question. Hopefully, each of us can review what we can do and respond to the situation in Hong Kong. You want some questions, or because I couldn't hear your response, so I just keep talking. There's no. Oh, there's feedback. Okay. I can't hear you. I can't hear. 聽唔到.
Yeah, I think they were trying to fix the audio problem.
Okay.
So, why don't you guys just answer some of the questions that people give, like before the speech?
Do you want me to continue to speak?
So we're gonna start answering some of the questions that the people drop off before we started the film. So one of the questions is, has the protest evolved after the planned withdrawal of the bill? And basically what I mentioned before, Hong Kong has marches every year. And it's always been a peaceful marches until the extradition bill comes in. Sorry with the echo and the technical issues. So Hong Kong people has gone through a lot since June. Police brutality, the rubber bullets, and the tear gas, and a lot of people got arrested randomly with the label as rioters, and even though they're not, they arrested not just protesters but also like the unarmed citizens. And we found out that the police also collaborated with the triads, but the government never do anything about it, and that's why the protesters decided to escalate the actions. So to go back to the questions, it definitely evolved, but that's only because Hong Kongers, they don't have a choice, because the government never listens to them. Even though right now Carrie Lam, the chief executive, mentioned that she's gonna come down to the city, to the community, and listen to the people. But even if she does, she's not gonna take any action. And that's why we decided to do it and raise our voices overseas and seek help from other people. That's the question. And the next question.
Yeah, so the next question is, what is going to happen after 2047? Well, I mean, like this question is like, yeah, something that tells the future, but I'm not. But yeah, but I mean, like everyone wants to know what happened after the 2047, right? It is hard to say because you know there are many factors that would affect the future of Hong Kong. I would say, like in my opinion, I would say there are two main factors, which is also the factors that will affect the situation in Hong Kong nowadays. The first one is how the economic status of China, because we can see that like China is a government and a regime that remains is political stability and yeah, in terms of its economic status. And I think this has also something to do with the international relations, that how international powers treat China and Hong Kong in 2047. So I think that has something to do in how what is the economic status and the political power emergence in 2047. For example, like how is China getting stronger or getting remains the same political status in 2047, or what future maybe some disputes from between the U.S. and China may also emerge in the future, because when China has emerged its political yeah.
So let's ask like the producer for the yeah. Let's try one more time.
Okay, I can hear you now.
Hello, can you hear us?
Yes.
So still can.
Yes, I can hear you.
Can you ask Andrew the question?
Hi, Andrew.
Just ask ahead.
Okay, so I'm gonna repeat the questions as I mentioned before. So 10 years has been labeled as a prophecy. So what do you think of this labeling?
Well, it's not a prophecy anymore. Everything has actually realized, right? A lot of things that we foresee a few years ago has already happened. Actually, back then, 3-4 years ago, when we first developed this project, we actually started this project before the umbrella movement. And after the umbrella movement, we changed a lot of our script because some of the scene that back then, tear gas, how police hitting the protester, back then we never imagined. But we have changed the script, and now you can see the film is more pessimistic. So if you watch it again today, of course, the atmosphere in Hong Kong is more pessimistic. People are more helpless and powerless, that they don't know what to do. And I've been asked a lot, what can we do? we don't see an exit for the situation nowadays. So as a prophecy, we of course we cannot foresee what happened in the future, but as I just said, we have to look back to the future, to the history, and then we can proceed.
In the film,
my sound just okay. In the film, we talk about. I think I like the last film a lot, Local Egg. Can you hear me? Okay. In the last film, Local Egg, I like it a lot because it brings hope. The hope is in the young kid, the young Red Guard. Even though he cannot do anything because his fellow Red Guards has to throw the egg, but at the end he choose not to throw the egg. He make a choice, and I think that's important. That what we do as citizen of Hong Kong, as Hong Konger, to how we face a very difficult situation, and really to really protect the truth, to reveal the truth, to really speak out that each person has a responsibility. So at the end of the local aid, there's a secret bookstore. Hopefully in Hong Kong we don't have to see that, but unfortunately a lot of things has been forbidden. And there's one question asking, I'm already skipping, asking, do I have anything regret after making this film? Is that the cinema in Hong Kong cannot continue to show the film. We showed the film in Hong Kong for 8 weeks, and it was full house on every screening, and the cinema cannot continue to show the film, and they cannot disclose, they cannot give us explain the reason. And of course, maybe there's self-censorship, maybe there's fear. So I think that's the only regret. But I think in another way, we've done over 200 community screening like this. We have directors and producers speaking to the audience.
Okay, just keep going.
Yeah, keep going.
So that was actually one of the questions that Andrew answered from, it was the questions that the readers submitted through the Apple Daily North America. So we're gonna move on to the second question. So the prophecy comes true in just 5 years. Does the situation in Hong Kong right now gives you inspiration to make another 10 years project? And if you continue to make films, are you worried that you might be arrested for no reason?
Actually, over the last 2 years, I've made 3 more films. 10 years Taiwan, 10 years Thailand, and 10 years Japan. It's all inspired by the original 10 years in Hong Kong. Because back then, people asked us, will we do a sequel, 20 years, 30 years? And we know it's not a sequel film. So we try to use this idea of imagining the future to bring it to different countries and cities. So that's why we cooperate with Taiwan, Japan, and Thailand directors to tell their future. So I think that's in a way continuous to imagine the future, because the whole world is connected and the whole world is changing. But back to Hong Kong, actually recently I've been asked by people, can you do a film, for example, to portray what's happening over the past months. But I think it's difficult right now because the protest, the situation has not been finalized. And I think if you want to do a portrait of these movements, you need more time to sink in. But as producer and as filmmakers in Hong Kong, I think as long as we have the freedom to express, to create, I think we should continue to make films. I'm a filmmaker. I'm not just a political filmmaker. I recently just finished a film. It's about a love story about some mental health issues love story. Of course, it's not directly on a social political issue, but there is some social element. So I think, but it's difficult because after we won the Best Film Award 3 years ago, some more experienced filmmakers actually talked to one of our directors that your path will be very difficult because there might not be investor want to invest in your film. There might no one want to work with you. I think we did face that difficulty, but even in 10 years, Japan, there's some investors that if we work with you, will there be any risk? because they have business in just China. I think that those things are happening, but I think we'll continue to make more films that, of course, hopefully to talk about what's happening in Hong Kong. And I know a lot of filmmakers are making documentary films about the protests over the last 3 months. So yeah.
How can we help with the democratic movement of freedom?
Can you repeat?
How can we help with the democratic movement of freedom in Hong Kong?
You mean in New York, in overseas?
Overseas.
Cannot. Maybe someone can type the question for me. Dùng 聽唔到啊，太多回音，聽唔到。
而家咧，
即係在場。你覺得我哋係？你覺得我哋而家喺外國可以點樣幫到香港嘅示威或者呢個嘅 movement 咧
？Well, what you guys just share, I think, is important because as students overseas or as people living abroad, I think your support is important. And I remember there's a lot of overseas Hong Kongers and Chinese. They might be the people to preserve some of the more important values in Hong Kong and to help preserve those important culture and values is important. And of course, continue to protest or make a appeal to your local government. I think that's important because the issue in Hong Kong has become a global issue. It's not just Hong Kong and China anymore. And of course, at the end we don't know what will happen, but I think we have to keep trying and keep pursuing. So, and thanks for organizing the screening like this to help people to understand more about the situation in Hong Kong, because sometimes they might not totally understand what's happening. So I think to have more discussion is important.
So before we end the event tonight, we're going to sing the whole. All right. We have one more question. That's the last one. So the last question is, how can we help with the democratic movement in freedom of Hong Kong?
So yeah, it's the same question. Actually, we have some posters outside there is a QR code on it. So if you guys know that there is a Hong Kong Human Rights and Democracy Act being discussed in the Congress right now, and there was a hearing on the 17th as well. And one of the things that you guys could help is to write to your senators to ask them for support to support the passing of this bill. So when you leave, you can see this yellow poster outside. There is actually a QR code, and there's also the QR code on the brochure you guys are holding, the black one. Then you find some more about the timeline and also what else you can do to help Hong Kong's democratic movement. So yeah, thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
So we're gonna sing the Hong Kong anthem in Cantonese, and the song is written and composed by a group of Hong Kongers. The writers kept their name anonymous because of the fear of being prosecuted by China government. And the song has been widely adopted as the anthem of the movement. So I think the lyrics is gonna be distributed out, and then I hope that you guys can join us with the singing.